All right, Dave. I've got my next D&D campaign all planned out.
Really, Ted? What do you got in mind?
First off, we have a sweet base of operation. It's a school for wizards called Pigwarts.
Really, Ted? Let me guess, we're all going to be students, too.
How'd you guess that, Dave?
You literally just ripped off the plot line to Harry Potter.
Fine, I guess we'll just talk about playing the all-wizard party for D&D.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
If you want to regularly summon D&D content to you, just mage hand that subscribe button.
You won't have to be a diviner to get access to those Nerdarchy videos, as long as you true strike that notification bell.
Before we jump into our all-wizard party video, we want to talk about the sponsor. And you know what? This sponsor might be awesome if you're trying to organize and put together, that campaign for your all-wizard game. And that is Campfire Technologies. They are great. They're amazing. It's an authoring tool as well as a world building and organizing tool. You can do all kinds of crazy things over there. Create timelines, organize your characters and NPCs, create encyclopedias for your world.
You can design your story in any which way that you want. I know, sometimes the way my brain thinks, my thoughts are all over the place. Campfire Technologies system allows you to build it all in one place, and it asks the right questions. It gives you the right prompts, so it really gets your ideas in a logical order.
Now, I've used other world building and authoring tools, and to be honest with you, I found them complex, confusing, where this one is just intuitive and clean to use. It's just so simple. Now, maybe you're trying to decide if this is something you want to use or not. There's a 10-day free trial, and then there's an additional 10-day money-back guaranteed. So you got 20 days essentially to figure out if this is the right tool for you or not.
So if you want to help out the channel, check out our sponsors and check out Campfire Technologies.
Link in the description. All right, Ted, let's talk about the all-wizard party. Actually, when we were going over this and I was looking up some things, I found it very similar to the barbarian in a lot of ways.
Is that because it fits a certain niche really well and doesn't stem out of there all that easily?
Yes, that is correct. The wizard is very good at kind of staying in their lane. Now, granted, the wizard is very versatile and there's a lot of utility because of your spells, but at the same time, there's a lot of other things that they don't really do particularly well.
They're not going to be good at being healers. And with that lowest hit die of all the spectrum, you really are not going to generate tanks all that easily until you get to those higher level spells that allow you to overcome some of those thresholds.
Now, I did find some ways to get tanky, but yeah, like you said, it's still hard. And surprisingly enough, even though the wizard is intelligence-based and many of our skills rely on intelligence, they are not really a skill class, right? They don't get very many to use, so that's another shortfall as well.
So they pretty much stay in that blaster controller area, and they don't jump out all that often.
Correct. So there are 10 wizard subclasses, 10 wizard traditions that we have here. We'll go through them real quick and kind of like what we feel like they kind of do for those subclasses. So first up, we have the Blade Singer, and we have the tradition of Abjuration. Actually, they're both kind of tanky. And then on the Abjuration side of things, you are the perfect anti-magic personnel.
Then we have the schools of Conjuration and Divination. Conjuration is about, a pet or summoner. Divination is all about being able to grab information that you might not normally be able to get by making skill checks or investigating.
Now, the next two kind of fill the same role, and that is the Enchanter and Invoker. They're both pretty much controllers, with the Invoker being more heavier on the damage side, and they go about their control in different ways.
So next up is the school of Illusion and Necromancy. Necromancy, kind of fills in the same role as Conjuration, being like a pet or summoner. And Illusion kind of stems into the control and area effect-based effects.
Lastly, we have Transmutation and War Magic. Transmutation is going to be a lot of utility effects, and War Magic actually gives you a little bit of tankiness.
So, I mean, you have a lot of experience with the War Mage, playing that in my campaign, and you did mix that with fighter. You mix that with with dwarf to be able to slap on as much armor as you could. But with these kind of things, we're not going out of our class. We're saying, how do we do it with just
Yes. And the problem with the wizard tank, and you kind of brought this up earlier, is even when you could get that high armor class, right? The problem is you don't have the hit points to back it up. And when you do get hit, it's a crit, right? So you're taking the most damage. So you basically have a glass jaw.
It makes you, every so often long for those days of the, confirmed criticals of 3rd edition.
Absolutely. So next up we have races, and I kind of break this down into 4 groups. We have the multiple, which means it's going to cover different areas that our wizard needs. After multiples, we have tankiness, and basically these are races that are just going to make us either harder to hit or give us more hit points.
Or we have skills, which is going to give us access to more skills that the wizard is lacking. And finally, we have a single race in the healing area to get access to the ability to heal, obviously.
Under races for multiples, there's 6. Human, lizard folk, and turtle are all great choices. They're going to give you, in 2 of those cases, extra armor and skills. And then human obviously is going to be skills as well as that feat choice.
We also have Warforged, Githyanki, and Lokatha, all of which have some of their own iterations within there. Warforged giving you access to the higher armor class. So the Githyanki is going to give you access to skills and armor.
And Lokatha is the same thing. You get natural armor as well as you're going to get a couple skills. So all of those are great choices. Next up, we're going to go right to the races that are straight up going to add tankiness to you. And there are 5 of those.
So first off, we have Dwarf. Whether you go with Mountain or Hill, that's going to either give you access to more armor or more hit points. Super helpful in that. We also have Goliath and Half-Orc. Both have that ability to shrug off damage. And in the low levels, the Goliath actually winds up winning out on that one.
Then finally, we have Hobgoblin and Luxodon. Both of them give you different ways of calculating armor class or actually just letting you put on armor. And now jumping over to skills, we have 4 races.
We have Changeling, we have Half-Elf.
Then there is the Kenku and Valdalkin.
All of them have a variety of options. The Half-Elf allowing you to choose whatever you want. And then our last, category in here is, as we said, healing, and that's just going to be the Aasimar. There's not a whole lot of races that just offer up magical healing bonuses.
And the amount you're going to get there isn't very much either, but is like literally one of the few places we can get it. So next up we have backgrounds. We've got 3 that we think would be useful. These 3 are the ones that are going to give us access to skills that normally we wouldn't be able to get.
All right, so our 3 standout backgrounds here are going to be Criminal, Charlatan, and Urchin. Criminal and Urchin are going to give us access to Thieves' Tools, which none of our subclasses are going to grant us. Charlatan is going to allow us to get access to some of those charisma-based skills that the wizard doesn't get.
Okay, next up we have feats. There is 8. We've got 3 different categories that we're kind of going to look at for this. The first category is something that's going to make us more resilient, give us more hit points, maybe healing. The next one is skills and proficiencies. And then finally, we're going to look at magic. Yes, I know we're wizards and we have tons of magic, but we have something particular in mind here.
All right, so our first category, we're going to have Inspiring Leader, Healer, and Tough. These are going to either grant the temporary hit points, they're going to grant us the ability to heal, or going to just give us more hit points in general, which every single one of these wizards is going to need that.
So for skills and proficiencies, we have Dungeon Delver, we have Linguist, we also have Prodigy and Skilled. All of them are going to enhance the proficiencies we already have or just give us access to more.
Even though we are playing a wizard, taking Magic Initiate specifically towards Cleric is going to give us access to Cure Wounds and Spare the Dying, both incredibly useful. If you have the healer feat, then, granted, you're going to be able to use your medicine kit to, grant healing and automatically stabilize and all of that. But sometimes you're going to need more than that, and being able to just cast that spell and grab that is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, you can grab it from Cleric, Druid, Bard, I think Artificer as well. So that you may actually have a couple options. Artificer may be the best option because you get to stay using that intelligence score, which you're already using. Some things to think about.
So those are the feats area. Very, very useful. I think this one of all the classes, I think is going to have the most problems, dealing with a typical D&D adventure, all being wizards. All right, so when we, go through all of this, we like to put together, all right, what does the party look like? And we put in, okay, here's your primary 4. If we have a party of 6, this is what we tend to choose. With this one, we have 10 choices. So what are we looking at here?
Not only do we have 10 choices, with the wizard, it is a lot easier to kind of jump around and switch them in and out. But we went with Abjuration because not only is it going to be kind of tanky, you can also use that tankiness and extend it to your other party members. That ability to shut down magic when necessary and being the best at it, super helpful. And then also we add Conjurer into the mix because you don't have a lot of hit points as a wizard, but as a conjurer, you can put a lot of more hit points onto the field.
Yes, and with the ability to concentrate and keep those things out there, you've got the ability to add that buffer and keep the hit points of your party members away. All right, so next up we're going to have Diviner. Since they're the experts at getting information from sources that aren't readily right in front of them, this is going to help cover areas where potentially your lack of skills is going to fall in. So, I think that they're going to be incredibly useful in that party.
Yeah, Portent is a great ability. And then, like you said, well, you don't have a rogue, but you have a diviner. Maybe they can get the job done instead.
All right, and when it comes to dishing out damage, your Evocation Wizard is going to be the tops. Everybody loves Fireball, and sometimes Fireball is the absolute answer. If you're mowing through, waves of enemies, you need to be able to dish out those big area spells so that those things are not getting attacks on you. The party is going to have lower armor classes all around. They're going to have lower hit points than any other class grouping in D&D. Therefore, you need to take out enemies quickly, and Evocation is the way to do it.
Now, I will say you can replace your Conjuration Wizard with the Necromancer. I feel like they fill this similar role, so you kind of flavor that one to taste.
If you're willing to, go a little bit, evil and creepy.
If you're into that thing, sure, why not? Now you can all argue with Ted about you can be a good, lawful good necromancer. How animating dead is totally fine.
It's not like we've got like 16 videos on the subject.
So now we're looking at, well, if we go to the 5 or 6 member party, clearly this is, wizard, so we can go all the way up to 10 if we really needed to, and I don't feel like anybody would be shorted with playing a wizard. But so we have to pick, and for number 6 and number 5, I should say, we're going to go with Transmutation. That's going to give you a lot of utility.
And then for our 6, we're looking at War Magic. Putting another, tank onto the battlefield is incredibly helpful. And it was a tough choice between Bladesinger and War Magic, but we chose War Magic because it doesn't have the restriction of Elf, and therefore you can branch into one of these other races that are going to offer up some interesting choices.
Now we're at the part of the video where we discuss how would we make a campaign out of this? How would we address this as a dungeon master? And, make a fun game using nothing but wizards.
All right, well, now you could go down the road of our jokey intro of having a wizard school and, not mocking, but, taking inspiration from Harry Potter. But I don't think there's a lot of GMs out there who are jumping at that chance. But if you were to play a game where all of your players are wizards, you first and foremost, you have to take into account, the vast, deficit of armor class and hit points. The skills are a little bit easier to mitigate, but they're just not enough things to really drive home that, all right, wizards are squishy. So I would be, constantly on a lower threshold for hit points and damage, specifically damage and attack, of what my monsters are selecting. So I would look at, magical challenges. I would look at puzzles. I would look at, small groupings of things so that they could use their area effect attacks and still still feel like they're overcoming, their threats without it just mowing through the party because you're having a good day and they're having a bad day.
They're all things to take in consideration. So when I think of the mage game, one of the things that comes to mind right away for me is the idea that they're all from a mageocracy, right? So they could, literally the way that your mageocracy is set up could be divided up amongst the different schools of magic. And maybe there's something going on where, the mageocracy has to send representatives to deal with a problem. So they send the best and the brightest from these different traditions and bring them together. And, maybe they disdain or you look down or don't even trust, more martial ways of dealing with things. So they'd rather send, a bunch of wizards.
I don't know. You started off good, and when you're like, all right, let's send the best and the brightest. I'm like, well, that's not usually how a D&D campaign starts. So, all right, how about, these are the misfits. These are the troublemakers, and there's a problem that needs to be dealt with. And the headmasters don't want to send their best and their brightest into an unknown area where they could possibly die. So it's like, no, you caused too much trouble. You're going.
These are all the wizards that have too many demerits. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe it could be like that. These could be the rabble rousers, the troublemakers, and maybe there isn't really even a problem going on. They just want them out of the way.
So that's oh my god, that is fantastic. So there's not a problem that anyone knows about,
but they discover a real problem.
Discover
by accident.
All right, now I'm incredibly intrigued by this game.
So that is definitely one way of doing it. Or, maybe it's not a mageocracy. Maybe it's not one place, but many places where there is a magic phenomenon going on. And from around the world of your campaign setting, everyone is sending a representative that knows about magic.
Right.
And that could very well be why you get like a war mage or a blade singer, because like from that area, that's what they have. Like it's very martial. So even their casters are very martial. So you could come up with some really interesting things. Maybe your diviner is actually more like a witch doctor or a shaman than a wizard. But that's where the tribes on the plains, and that's what they have and that's what they send. So you could come up with some really crazy ideas and combinations to put together.
So I would see, that story unfolding where, all right, there are a multitude beyond the player characters that are there. And you start off the game with all of these events unfolding and problems arise. Maybe some of the other representatives flee. Maybe a whole bunch of them die to really sell home, what the problem is. And these are the players are the ones who are left. They're the ones, all right, well, looks like you're the only ones to investigate. You're the ones at ground zero. We need you to be the ones to actually go and unfold this storyline.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like the idea that they weren't sent, but they were attached to the person that was sent. Like their helpers, their assistants, their apprentices. And then something happens, like all the important people gather to conduct an experiment in something, and it goes wrong. They all get killed, they all get mutated, they all get taken over. It could be, any number of things, different directions you could go in, which would be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of different, ideas that are now, stemming off of all of this. And it's really intriguing. So I'd love to, hear what you guys think, with how this story would kind of unfold. Would you play this group? Would you DM this group?
So if you enjoyed this video and you want more videos like it, we have a whole playlist that you can check out. The card will be up here of the all same character classes adventuring party.
If you love discussions about, this all wizard party or all wizards as much as we do, then let me invite you to check us out over on Patreon.
There you will find D&D content for DMs and players alike, weekly live chats with our patrons, And we even do monthly giveaways that our patrons are automatically entered, and more.
And so until next time, stay nerdy.